I'm Nick from the University of Nottingham. So Connected Everything was launched in 2016 and we won additional funding in 2019. Build on success of this, we currently have over 400 registered members, mainly academics, represent over 100 different institutions, but we do have companies as well. One of the things we can do as a network is if you're working on a project or a proposal and you want to try and find a partner, just send us a message. Same as this session today is to support the community. That's what the network's there to do. So don't just read our emails, go, that's interesting, turn up to our events. Tell us things you want. I mean, we might not always be able, if you say we want to find the biggest nuclear company in the world, we'll try and help you if they're on a member list, but we might not be able to do it, but we'll absolutely try our best. In terms of areas we work in, this is just a word cloud that's been put together. So you can see the main thing is digital manufacturing, but we've also got things like circular economy, net zero becoming important, different areas, sensors, additive manufacturing, communications, cloud, AR, VR. But as a network, we're trying to be as inclusive as possible, and that's inclusive in terms of the community, making sure our events are accessible, things like that, but also we're really keen on getting people who maybe didn't think their research was manufacturing into the area, so maybe more the physical sciences, social sciences, those types of areas. We want to get those because we think there's some massive challenges in the manufacturing sector, and we really need really interdisciplinary research with people with different backgrounds coming into it. So that's one of our missions as well. How do we support the future of manufacturing? Connected Everything is right at the centre, but it's around people, skills, strategies, technologies, industries and disciplines. What we do is, the main thing we do is fund feasibility studies. So because we've only got a year left of our current funding, we actually had our last round of feasibility studies, but this is one of the main activities. And I was actually one of the first groups of people to have a feasibility study working with Leeds. Mary was actually involved as a researcher on that project, so it's great to see how she's developed her career, gone on to an academic position now. That's absolutely fantastic. But have a look at that and you can see the kind of feasibility studies we fund. Very much high risk research, very much interdisciplinary with industrial engagement. So addressing industry challenge. We do a lot around thematic areas, and we've got some reports. Ollie, who you heard from earlier, has refreshed our thematic areas in the last 12 months, and you can go and have a look at those. Do strategic agenda setting, so we're working on a manufacturing 2050 report, looking at the kind of world that exists and the skills we need within manufacturing. We do people movement, which is a bit challenging at the minute with replacement because of the ongoing pandemic, but we've actually got a COVID recovery fund, so you can have a look on our website if you feel your career is maybe being impacted a bit and there's a small pot of money that could help you do something. Maybe it is engagement industry partners, something like that. Have a look and you can apply for that. Conference and networking. So a few weeks ago we had our annual festival, which was online this time, so we'd used Gavatown. Ollie built a stage there. And it's great to see some of the people here today are ones that we had from who were at that event. Maria, I remember seeing you there. And dissemination impact, so you can find it all there. I won't go on this too much, but one of the things we do as well with the network is work with the catapults. So there's lots of different catapults around the country. So if you're an early career researcher thinking of ways to exploit your technology, look into the catapults. Maybe the high value manufacturing catapult might be the most relevant, or the digital catapult. Within the high value manufacturing catapult, you have different catapult centres. So the one closest to Nottingham is the MTC, but there's ones near Sheffield, AMRC, lots of things like that. But have a look at these, because they're really there, not so much for the fundamental research, but for the technology development. And again, great partner to have on proposals, and because they can really pull the technology through and help you engage with industry. We link with the KTN, so fantastic. We've got Nigel here today, and we're involved with key industry groups within manufacturing. Thematic areas. I appreciate I'm going through this quickly because this isn't the focus of the event, but we've got industrial Internet of Things, cyber physical systems, future industry work, resilient manufacturing. That was something that came out of what's been going on in the last 18 months. COVID, yes, but also things like Brexit. We need resilient system, data-driven manufacturing, creativity, customization, and regulations and standards. So it's really interesting when Maria was talking about the explainable interpretable AI. This is a big area for these technologies. I think we've got technology demonstration with industry on some of these predictive analytics models, but how do we regulate them, and the decisions they're making is a really interesting topic. Yeah, this is oh, I won't go through it. That's a video of one of our feasibility studies, and if you're not a member, I think most of you are, you can join there. I'm just gonna have a quick look at the chat and see if we've got any questions. So if I close that down, this is the one I want. Yeah, Young Lou's here. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, yeah, Deborah's put the COVID recovery thing for you to have a look on that. So please feel free to interrupt me. I've only got a few slides left. So a little bit about myself. So my interest is digital food and drink manufacturing. It's mainly sensing and analytics. So very interested in ultrasonic and optical sensing and how we can combine them with machine learning, using techniques, multi-sensor fusion. And really it's about developing models and technologies that can address things around sustainability, so environmental sustainability, safety and productivity within the food and drink sector. So lots of challenges around there, food waste, the resources used to make food. I'm sure you're all aware. Yeah, you know, anecdotal thing is like six litres of water to make 1 litre of beer because of all the cleaning you need to do. If you knew how much water it took to make a bar of chocolate, it's absolutely staggering because of all the things that goes on at the farm and things like that. Don't worry about these presentation topics. I'm not going to go through all that. I just wanted to give you a bit of an idea. I mean, I've been very fortunate that I've had funding from lots of different research councils, Innovate UK as well, which is a funding route mainly for industry, but it allows academia to be a partner. Just a little bit about my kind of career history, and then I'll talk a bit about my experience specifically working with industry. So I have a master's in mechanical engineering from Hull, and then I moved along the M62 westbound to Leeds to do a PhD in chemical engineering, and that was sponsored by AstraZeneca. So my first opportunity of working with industry was during my PhD, and AstraZeneca were fantastic, and the PhD was about this figure here. It was developing a model, so discrete element modelling, so all in Fortran coding of particle motions in a granulator, and using that model to understand what was going on with acoustic emissions. So could we use the model to develop an acoustic emission sensor to monitor the process? So that's when I really got into kind of sensing and process monitoring. I think the message I got from that in regards to working with industry is to do with the speed that academia moves at and the speed that industry moves at. Industry is a very fast-paced place. They want to find things out quickly and decide if they're worth pursuing. I remember within my PhD, I probably had 3 or 4 different supervisors at different times from AstraZeneca, because people moving around sites, going, and this isn't unique to AstraZeneca. In lots of companies, you'll find people move positions very, very quickly. So that's something I've noticed over the years. When you're developing partnerships with someone in a company, you could put a lot of work in. After 6 months, they've moved on to another company, or they've moved into a different role in that company. So maintaining them key contacts is important. So just be thinking about that. Then when I finished my PhD, I had 4 years as a postdoc in the food science department, University of Leeds. The first half of that was all funded directly from industry. So it was working on projects, short projects, building sensors to look at specific challenges. So this orange fellow here, I did a lot of work on fake TAM stability. This is part of a car. I was looking at sensors to monitor crystallization of fuel in different car components. I did a lot of work on chips. This brown thing here is chocolate, potatoes, a lot on washing powders. So looking at stability, dissolution rates, things like that. So it was all short projects funded by industry. So that's where I was getting a lot of experience there. The second 2 years was on an Innovate UK project with a chocolate manufacturer developing an energy efficient technology for crystallizing chocolate. So all my years as a researcher, 4 years, were not focusing on fundamental research and publishing papers. It was very much on industry projects. Then I joined Nottingham in 2014, so that's about 7 years ago now. Yeah, sometimes I feel like I've been here forever. Other times I feel like I'm still new and learning things all the time, which I guess is true of any role. Now I have a really good mix of the kind of fundamental projects, the UKRI, so EPSRC, STFC, as well as doing a lot of the industry stuff as well, and just some of the things I'm involved with as well. So I'm a fellow of the Higher Education Academy, so that's the teaching side of things. Remember for a few more months before they kicked me off, the EPSRC Early Career Forum in Manufacturing Research, so I would recommend all of you to have a look at this. There's actually a call out now for new people to join the forum. They do have other forums. They have one in engineering and one in maths. I've got a lot out of that. We actually do a lot of events about work of industry and network of industry, but it's just great to build your academic network up and engage with the EPSRC, so Engineering Physical Sciences Research Council, understand how they design calls, what their strategic priorities are, things like that. So I would recommend you to look into that. And if maybe Ollie or Deborah has got time, if you just go onto the EPSRC website, you should be able to find the call that's open now and just pop it in the chat. That'd be great. I also do some work with the Food Standards Agency, have done for a couple of years. So what's my experience of work of industry? As I said, my PhD was funded by industry, 4 years postdoctoral research assistant, so some of that funded directly by industry, some working on Innovate UK, and then since my academic appointment, I think it would be fair to say every project I've had has an industry partner in some way. So we've been involved in 3 Innovate UK projects, partners on UK RI projects, so UK Research Innovation, so that's the overview with all the research councils underneath. So we've had funding EPSRC, BBSRC, STFC, lots of companies sponsoring PhD students. So I'm involved with the Horizon Centre for Doctoral Training, as well as having interaction with other CDTs, consultancy. I think knowledge transfer partnerships. So again, these are maybe a bit later on in your career, but when you've developed something and you're looking to put it into industry, the company can apply for a knowledge transfer partnership, and that pays for someone. The company pays a bit, but the scheme pays towards this individual as well. 2-year project or 3 years sometimes to take that technology and embed it in the company. We saw all the IP side of things as well. I think the other things, they're the kind of hard things that everyone will say, but the other things as well, which is important to engage with industry, is don't just think about your research, thinking about how you can develop these relationships. So can you get people to come along and do guest lectures? Can you ask them if it's possible to do site visits, to take some of your students to look around? And just, I find some of the best interactions, there's some companies I work with and maybe they're not large companies, they don't have R&D departments, R&D budgets, so they're not going to sponsor PhD students. They're not really interested in their UKs, but they know a lot about the area, the application area, food and drink, a lot more than I do. So just asking them to come along to workshops that we're doing, or they're often really good when we're developing new research ideas, just to give them a call and say, look, we're working on something, but we're not really sure how this will be used by industry or what the real challenge is. So again, one of my points as well, and I'll go through this again in a bit, is don't just think about like, work of industry is that letter of support. Everyone's worried these days that you're not going to get a proposal unless you've got 10 letters of support from companies saying this is an important project. Those letters of support are helpful, and you don't need them, but that's, if you go into the mindset of that is why you're doing this, it's not the way to go. I find some of these other interactions are just as useful.